Hello, business leader. My name is John Israel, and I'm so excited you are watching this video today because we are going to teach you the 3 keys to take your business relationships to the next level. So, let me tell you where the idea behind this training comes from, and also to let you know a little bit about myself. I am the founder and chief gratitude officer of a consulting firm called Mr. Thank You, and we help businesses grow and retain clients as well as team members through the art of appreciation. We have a strategic gifting company where we help people actually say thank you to their clients and their teams, as well as we do trainings on these topics for companies and teams all across the world. And so we wanted to take a condensed version, some of our best material we've seen that has proven to consistently help people deepen and create loyal relationships that stand the test of time. Now, because when you think about it, nobody starts a relationship hoping it's going to end, right? But that's what happens every single day in business. It might be losing a great client or a top team member or a valued referral source starting to send deals to somebody else. We all know what that feels like to lose a valued relationship. So, what can we do to remain relevant, competitive, and valuable so that we can keep these relationships actively engaged for years and years? So, the interesting thing is we kind of start to disseminate this and look for the clues, right? Success leaves clues. Every business says, I want client loyalty. I want my team to stick around for as long as possible. I want every time that someone talks about the need of our product or service, that our clients will tell them about our business and send us those referrals. We all want that, right? Here is the question: how many brands and people are you that loyal to? Think about that. How many individuals or companies do you be that consistent coming back to them over and over and sending them everybody that you know and love that you hear talk about that product? I bet you that list is extremely small. So why is that? And that's because success has a process, right? Every success was preceded by a process. So if we have this ideal vision of what we want our business relationships to be like, we have to understand that there was a process that led up to that, right? Your best business relationships, I bet there was a process that led up to that. And most of us don't think of it that way. We think of it as sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. But I'm here to tell you that there is actually a framework of how to build our best business relationships. I'm a 20-year business veteran. I started when I was 19, my first job in entrepreneurship, selling kitchen knives house to house for a summer job, and had a very successful career with them. And we built a strategic gifting company about 10 years ago, and we're very successful with that. And the reason we've been able to do that is because of the relationships that we've built. Because something to keep in mind is that you are one relationship away from transforming your business, right? You think about one raving fan client who loves you and sends you all their business and then also talks about you to all their friends and family. I mean, that person is worth thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or depending on your business model, could be worth $1 million or more. So, how do we build those relationships? We're going to get very micro here. I'm going to share with you 3 strategies of what you can do to build these relationships over time. And I think that's a key thing is you have to understand that we do this over time. Right. You don't create lifelong loyalty from one interaction, right? I guess unless you saved somebody from being hit by a bus, they might be loyal to you for the rest of their life. But the reality is, for the most part, loyalty is a relationship and relationships take time. So what do you do in that time? That's what we're going to talk about today. So let's dive into the training. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is something so simple, you're going to be mad at me for telling you. You're going to be like, John, come on, it can't be that simple, right? We're going to talk about the art of the handwritten card, right? Now, why is this so valuable and so important? Well, because nobody does this anymore, right? What does everybody do? We make a Facebook or a social media post, we tag somebody in it, we send them a DM, we maybe send them an email or even a video. And by the way, I think all of those things are great and they're amazing and they're valuable. But there's something about a handwritten card that when people see it, they open it, right? There's that like time bomb effect of when someone gets a letter in the mail from us and they open it, they're like, oh my gosh, like I haven't gotten a letter in 6 months or a year or multiple years. And then they open it, it's like, oh my gosh, it's handwritten. And then they read it and it shows that you care enough about the relationship to take the time. Now, I want you to think about that. That is a subtle mental agreement or awareness that a client has when they read a handwritten card is they say, wow, this person is willing to take time out of their busy schedule for me, right? Because most of us are too busy to do something like this. And so when it happens, it's really valuable. So there are three types of handwritten cards that we're going to talk about. First is probably the most obvious that many people think about, which is first point of contact, right? Now, depending on your business, you could be in real estate, you could be in another form of direct sales, and you see a client for the first time. It could be because they were referred to, you have a discovery call, or maybe you have a call and you close the contract or sign the deal or make the sale, that would be considered your first point of contact. And I recommend that you send a handwritten card immediately after, if you can, same day, so that they get it 2 or 3 days later. And here's why. We did this as a test for our company in our strategic gifting world. And every business has cancellations in some way, shape, or form, right? Which means someone starts doing business with you and then stops somehow middle of the transaction or before the product is fulfilled and delivered to them. And so we had an average of about a 5% cancellation ratio in our business just throughout the year. That's just what happens. So we implemented this strategy by adding a handwritten card immediately after we closed the transaction or had our first conversation. And what we discovered is that cancellation ratio went down from 5% to 3%. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but that equated to thousands of dollars of revenue that our company saved by not losing, right? Think about that. Money you don't lose is money that you make. So, what would I put in a simple card like that, like a first point of contact card? Let me give you a couple of things. Number one is acknowledge their time, right? Acknowledge the time that they took to sit down with you, to talk with you, to have a Zoom call, whatever it is, because everybody's time is valuable. Next is acknowledge their openness and willingness to work with you, right? And saying something to the effect of, I really appreciate your time and your willingness to sit down with me and your openness to seeing how we can solve this problem for you. Third is their desire for this decision, right? And so it could be someone that you're in the middle of the process with, or they've already decided. But I would say something to the effect of, and I wanted to thank you for your commitment and decision to move forward with us because we are committed to helping you achieve the outcomes with our product or service that you desire. So acknowledge that they took a decision. And sometimes that decision is scary. Depending on your industry, I might even say that, right? Saying something to the effect of, if I was in real estate, I might say, when someone's buying a home, it's a scary process, and there are so many options of real estate professionals that you could use for this transaction. So I am so grateful that you decided to work with us and my team, and I promise we're going to do an amazing job for you. Right, and then the final piece here is a future statement. I think this is really important as you talk about the future of the relationship. And so I might say something to the effect of, again, sticking with the real estate example, hey, we just wanted to thank you for choosing us as your real estate professional team to work with on this transaction. And I just want to let you know we are so excited to help you build wealth through real estate and to help you get this transaction to the finish line. Right? Telling them, casting the vision of the future has them start to think about the future, especially in working with you. Now, here's a little caveat. This is something that we added at the bottom of every thank you card. I know this sounds simple, but we actually found this equated to a result, which is we put a note that said, if you have any questions, problems, or communications, feel free to reach out to us. Here's my cell phone number and my email. Now, why is this important? Saying, hey, if you have any questions or problems, reach out to us, is because ultimately what we discovered is that percentage that dropped in cancellations, partially that was because those people who were probably likely to cancel after they got their card called us because they had a problem, called us because they had a question. And we were able to resolve that question and resolve the issue and then move them through the emotion of the conflict. And then they decided to keep their order and we had built a great relationship. So you have to understand that the moment someone decides to do business with you, they immediately have buyer's remorse. As soon as they get off the phone, there's an emotion or feeling of like, did we get the best deal? Should we have done that? Maybe we should have shopped around a little bit more. And then when they see that handwritten card in the mail, what they see is you're someone who values them enough to take the time to do this. And someone who would like be a shady salesperson or somebody who doesn't have their best interest at heart probably wouldn't do something like that. So that handwritten card increases their level of trust and has them more comfortable and confident to work with you. That's card number one. Card number two is what we call a thinking of you card. I love these. And if you don't know my personal story, I started something called the Mr. Thank You Project, which was a social movement around human connection where I hand wrote 5 thank you cards every day for an entire year. I wrote a book about it. I gave a TED Talk on it. You can check everything out. But the point is, I love the idea of just appreciating people who've impacted my life. So, one of the things that I encourage business people to do is to make a list of all the people that have positively impacted your business over time. I'm talking your first clients who ever bought from you, your first referral partners, friends or family who've supported you in the business, and take a moment to acknowledge and appreciate them for what they did because of how successful or where you're at in business right now. Guys, I am telling you, this is like a time bomb of gratitude that when it goes off and they open that letter and they read it, they're blown away with appreciation for you. And we don't do it to get something. You got to understand that. We don't do this to get more deals, to get more referrals, to get more loyalty. We do this because what it's demonstrating for them is our heart. And when we have a heart of appreciation, of valuing connection, then what that does is it activates reciprocity in the heart of other people, right? Because I want to really get this. If we want others to think about us when we're not around, we need to think about others when they're not around, so that when we express that gratitude in a written form to that person, they're appreciative, and ultimately a lot of times that works into hey, I was thinking about you the other day, and I want you to meet my sister. She's actually thinking of buying what it is that you're selling, or she needs the services of someone like you. So, what do you put in a card like this, a thinking of you card? So, let me give you a couple of things. I call this the ABCs, the ABCs of a good thank you card. So, A is actions, B is being, and C is challenges. Okay, so let me explain this a little bit. So, actions, being, and challenges. Actions are the things that people do. Right, the things that people do for you, like they referred you to a client, they bought from you, they were an early adopter, whatever it is, that's an action. Being is the type of person that they are. This is more of an interpersonal attribute about them that you admire, that you appreciate, right? Thank you for being trusting. Thank you for being loyal. Thank you for being a kind hearted human being. That's what I mean by that piece. And then challenges is acknowledging some of the challenges that it is to be them, right? That it is to be that individual, to go through what they go through and to still be an amazing human being who shows up and does the work that they do, right? So let me give you an example of a couple. So I get thank you cards from people all the time because I do a lot of traveling and keynote speaking, and so I've gotten some really interesting cards from people. This is actually from a real estate professional here in Dallas, Texas. His name is JT Hardcastle. So JT, shout out to you. So this is after an event that I spoke at in the DFW area. And he says, John, thanks for taking the time to invest in us today through your training in becoming irreplaceable. That's the title of one of my trainings. Um, I appreciate what you're putting out into the world, and that you are a local as well. We need more people like you here in DFW. Many blessings to you as you continue to bless those around you in 2020 through your Mr. Thank You project. And so this was, a really simple card, but it was something that he sent. It looks kind of like a business postage, right? It's got his own personal info branded on there, which I think is a great idea, by the way. And what was so interesting is that he sent me this letter, and I sent him an email back just saying, "Hey, man, thanks so much for the card." And then he replied back and says, "Hey, no worries, man. Great to meet you. Would love to grab coffee sometime." Well, we wound up grabbing coffee again later, and we've actually since had multiple lunches. And then ultimately that worked into him becoming a gifting client. And then that worked into us using him for a real estate transaction. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I am a speaker for an event, and he was an attendee who sent me a message, and it's worked into a business relationship because it started off with appreciation. I thought, man, what a great example of actually doing this, right? So thinking of you, this is a great type of card to be able to send out to any of your clients. If you're sending it to anyone who you've done business in the past, it might sound something like this. It might sound like, hey, I just wanted to send you this letter. I know it might be coming out of the blue, but I was reflecting on the success of my business this year and thinking about what I'm grateful for. And I was thinking about every client who showed up in the very beginning to support my business and let me work with them. And so I know that you had so many choices of who you could have picked, but you chose me. And I'll never forget, and then insert something specific about the transaction that you remember. And so I so appreciate you. And I know that you guys have gone through some challenges with XYZ happening. If you know of a personal challenge or struggle they've gone through, you can acknowledge that. And so I just wanted to say I admired seeing your growth through that experience and just getting to know you over time. And I'm so grateful for our friendship and partnership. And if there's anything I can do for you, feel free to let me know. Would love to grab coffee or lunch sometime soon. And just send that out. And I guarantee if you send something like that out, that is going to connect with someone in their heart. And that's the thing you have to understand. If we want that lifelong loyalty, it comes from the heart. We call it positive emotional resonance. When people think about your product or service, what do they feel, right? And we only get that feeling trigger when we've taken the time to pour into their heart. So that's a great example. All right, number 3, this is the one that no one does, and I think is a huge opportunity, but it's going to take a lot of humbleness. So, third type of card to send is a cancellation card. What? Why would you possibly send someone a thank you card after a cancellation? Well, I'll tell you an example. So, when I was going through my Mr. Thank You project and writing 5 cards every day for a year, I had this really interesting experience of going through my list of clients that I was going to send cards to. And I saw a client's name and I thought, oh my gosh, if I send her a thank you card, she's probably going to light it on fire and throw it in the trash because our last transaction, for whatever reason, fell apart. In the moment, it was a both of our sides. In the moment, I would have blamed her for what happened, but I saw her name and I thought, man, if I send her a thank you card, she won't even receive it because there's probably still anger inside that relationship. So I thought, okay, I can't send her a thank you card. What if I just send her an acknowledgement card? Or an apology card. And so I had to pause for a moment. I had to pause and actually really internally reflect and ask myself, man, what do I have responsibility for in this situation? What is there for me to take ownership in? And I thought about it and I saw there were a couple things where I wasn't as clear in my communication about timing of her order. And that ultimately caused some stress on her side. And so she decided to cancel because her shipment wasn't going to arrive in time when she needed it. And so I agree that I think part of that was my fault. There was some part that was definitely her part, her fault in how she reacted, but I can't control her. I cannot control her. I can only control myself. And so I sent her a card and I said, Stacy, I won't use her real name. I said, Stacy, um, I know it might seem strange to be receiving a card from me right now, but I just wanted to reach out and tell you I'm sorry. I know our last transaction did not end well. And I know there were some parts of that I take on as my responsibility that I had dropped the ball. And I hope that you forgive me on that because I really valued our friendship and relationship more than just doing business together. And I really feel this got in the way of that. So I wanted to apologize. And I'm not asking for your business. I'm not asking for you to start working with us again. But I just wanted to let you know that I'm sorry and I hope we can put this behind us and move forward with the friendship. Anyways, be well. Reach out to me if you need anything. That was it, right? And I sent that letter out. Guys, within 48 hours of sending it, meaning she probably got it, opened it, and sent me a video right away. She sent me a video and was like, oh my gosh, Sean, don't even worry about it. I appreciate you. You're so great. I love your family as well. Water under the bridge. Don't worry about it. And I was like, wow, like immediately resolved the issue. And then 10 minutes later, she sends me another video with product questions. And I was like, what the heck? That wasn't even the goal. But I just found that by sending that, it actually made a huge impact on that relationship. We actually started doing this with every client who canceled moving forward. We actually found that 50% of those people who canceled wound up coming back eventually within about 2 years to us. Think about that, right? By sending people a thank you card or an acknowledgement card. And it's, by the way, it's not even an apology card all the time because sometimes it literally has nothing to do with you. They had an issue. They ran out of funds. Something happened. They had to follow a escrow or whatever the deal was you were with them. And so by sending them an acknowledgement card or letting them know you still appreciate them, even though you didn't wind up getting to do the deal together, that again, that just shows them a level of humility. And whenever we are doing business with somebody, a really big part of it is, do I like this person? Do I trust them? And someone who's willing to extend an olive branch, even especially when a client might be embarrassed that they had to cancel their transaction with you, that says so much about you. And we found that, like I said, about 50% of those clients who canceled after we sent them a thank you card or an acknowledgement card or a connection card after they canceled still wound up coming back to us within about 2 years to do business together. So Try it for yourself, see what happens. At a minimum, here's what I can tell you. You feel better, right? You feel better. That anger, the resentment, the frustration goes away the moment you send them that card. It's really cool. All right, let's dive. So these are the 3 types of cards to write. Now we're going to transition into the next training, which is gifting, right? Your strategic gifting hierarchy. So there are 4 types of gifting that we acknowledge and talk about in business. I'm going to lay these out here for you right here. So there's closing gifts, VIP gifts, situational gifts, and process gifts. Okay, so let me back up a little bit here and explain what we're talking about. So strategic gifting is where you purchase or invest or send maybe even a personal product of whatever you have to offer to a client um, in a with an objective of building the relationship, right? Now, the reason I say that specifically is because most people do gifting from a place of obligation, right? Like, oh, they sent me a referral, I should send them a gift card, or oh, they finished a transaction with me, I should send them a closing gift or a business gift or something like that. And when things are done through obligation because you have to, I mean, you're welcome to do it. But my belief is every interaction with a client is an opportunity for 2 things. Number 1 is to deepen the relationship, and 2 is to create the context of continuing that relationship over time. And I will show you exactly how we do this. I'm going to give you guys our secret sauce inside of gifting of what we do, and I'm going to show you some examples that we don't do right as a company, but meaning we actually personally do it for our clients, but we don't fulfill on that, right? Because we are a gifting company, but we have a window of where we fit and how we serve clients. So I'm going to share with you the different types of business gifting that are out there, and then you can choose what are the best for you. So what I was showing you just a moment ago is called the gifting hierarchy. And so let me get to those slides. Here we go. The gifting hierarchy looks like this. The first type of gift is we call closing gifts. Now, closing gifts are a type of gift you send after the transaction is complete, right? After it is over. And it doesn't matter what your product or service is, it's sending a token of appreciation and gratitude for the purchase and for the relationship that you are building. Now I'm showing you these as a pyramid because ultimately, if you're going to decide how should I start my gifting, I believe you should start it in this order. I think that the number 1 most important type of gift to give or to build into your process is a closing gift, right? Which is that post-transaction appreciation. Now, here's why. Because most people suck at follow-up, right? Most people are terrible with once the transaction is over, we are most likely on to the next deal. So when you time it correctly, which we're going to talk about in a second, when you time your closing gift correctly, you actually have a better impact in deepening the relationship if you do it at the right time. The second type of gift is what we call VIP gifts. So these are targeted to what says market mavens. Market mavens are really the highest level referral partners or highest level clientele that have the highest potential to do business with you or send you more business. So we call these VIPs because they're very important people to our business. And it just comes down to that principle, right? The 80-20 principle. 80% of your results are going to come from 20% of your clients. So do you have a strategy to appreciate those people? Because ultimately, we want to spend more time with them because the more time we spend, theoretically, our business is going to keep growing. And then we keep spending time with the 20% of the 20% of the 20%. But ultimately, everybody should have a VIP list and start targeted marketing towards appreciating them. The third type of gift here is what we call situational gifts. Situational gifts are really around peak emotional life experiences that you can send a gift to the client around, and it again anchors and connects you emotionally with that client. And then the fourth one here is what we call process gifts. Process gifts are around like surprise and delight. These are things that if you have, depending on your sales cycle, if you have like a 30-day sales cycle or a 6-month sales cycle, or maybe you have like a hour long conversation sales cycle and you get to a deal. But either way, there is something you send people in the process of either working with you or receiving the product this is called a process gift, and it's a lot of times involved in having them have a better experience of what you do for them. That's what we call a process gift. Now, our company specifically, we really only do closing gifts and VIP gifts. That's what we physically fulfill on. But we also personally do all of these other gifts. We do closing gifts, VIP gifts, situational gifts, process gifts. So I'm going to share with you all of those ideas and strategies. If you're going to think of where do I start, because there's going to be so many ideas, I recommend you start at the bottom and then work your way up from there, right? But we're going to talk about the 4-part framework of what goes into strategic gifting to be most effective. So first things first is the 4 keys to gifting are we call the framework of time. Okay, time, timing, item, messaging, and execution. Okay, timing, item, messaging, and execution. So each of these pieces is fundamental to gifting strategically that gives you the highest impact. Because here's the deal: if you're going to spend $50, $100, $200, $1,000 or more on a gift, you might as well maximize the ROI of that investment. And so people often here's where people get gifting wrong, is they think everything about gifting is about the gift, right? That I need to get the perfect gift. Well, truth be told, that can be very, very difficult, right? Unless you live with the person. And by the way, even with that, I'm married. Sometimes it's hard to think of like the perfect gift for my wife, right? So don't get too wrapped up in the perfect item. We're going to teach you how to pick the right items, but there's other variables that go into making the gift well received. So the first one is timing. So here's what I have to say about timing. Practice what we call planned spontaneity. Planned spontaneity. Send your gift when they least expect it. So when we talk about closing gifts, a lot of people, we work in the real estate industry, and a lot of times they will give a gift on closing day. And when I'm training real estate professionals, I tell them, do not give gifts the day of closing. Why is that? Because your client's life is in boxes and they're already hyper emotional. And if you give them a gift, they might forget about it and move into their house, and you've somewhat wasted the money. So if you simply waited about 7 to 30 days to actually hand them their gift, they're a little bit more settled. You can give the gift, have a conversation. It's an extra touch point. So that's what I recommend. Now, if you're doing VIP gifts or other type of spontaneous gifts, you are going to focus on non-gifting holidays or time with opportunities to follow up. That's key. If you're going to do a gifting campaign, that's what we do a lot for people, is we'll set up a VIP gifting campaign that might go like 2 or 3 months. Now, inside of that, when we strategically send the gifts, you got to be prepared to answer your phone, because people are going to be calling you. They're going to be emailing you, thanking you for the gift. So you want to be in a prime position to call them back, have a conversation, and talk about referrals and reviews, which is going to be one of the last things we'll talk about in the section, is how do you leverage gifting to get more referrals and reviews for your business. So let's keep going here. So these are some examples of times that we love with planned spontaneity. Halloween week, Thanksgiving, New Year's, Valentine's Day, April, spring is coming, 4th of July, August, fall time, kids going back to school, birthdays, pet deaths, business anniversaries. Business anniversary is like the 1-year anniversary from when your transaction happened, a children's wedding, a childbirth. These are all key things that you can hone in on to send a gift. So these are some examples. I have a client who sends for birthday, she sends sprinkles cupcakes. Now, she's a very high producing loan officer. And when I asked her recently how much she spends, I'm not even kidding, guys, over $2,000 a month on cupcakes. 2,000 a month. Now, you should see how much she makes, which is not which is far outweighs that, but she has built it into a system that if you are in her database and it is your birthday and you're a client or a business partner or someone like that, she will send you cupcakes. I did a training for her team and her business partners a while ago, and it happened to be a couple days before my birthday, and I casually mentioned it in the training. 3 days later on my birthday, a box of cupcakes show up, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." But the point is, what do you do for people's birthdays? Now, you don't even have to send them cupcakes. You know what I do? I spend $0 and I simply open up my phone, I dial their phone number, and I send them a video text message singing them happy birthday. Now, the reason I do that is because when I first moved away from home to go to college, my mom used to always sing me happy birthday on my voicemail, and I kept them and I loved them and I was so grateful for it that I thought, man, maybe people need to be sung happy birthday on their birthday. So I try to be the first person that sings them happy birthday. So I'll send a video early in the morning usually. I look up on Facebook, hey, whose birthdays are out there? I open up my phone, send them a text message with a video. They love it. We get tons of reactions from it. Another one here is childbirth, right? So children's birth. When we had our last child, we got a someone sent us a blanket with our baby's name engraved on it or embossed on it. We got a chair, like a physical chair for the child with their name embossed on it. It was pretty powerful. And I remember both of those individuals that are great friends and great business partners who sent us those gifts. And you know what? I bet I'm probably not the only person who got that, but I don't care because it was personalized with my child's name. That's what made it really, really cool. And also pet death. Now this is something that I mean, gosh, I have a dog I've had for 12 years at this point when I'm recording this video, and whenever that day is that he passes, I'm gonna be super duper sad. And when people who care about their pets lose one, it's very emotional. So to receive just simply a handwritten card, or you can look up on Amazon, there's some cool little gifts to send people with a pet death. That is a really powerful and positive thing you can do for that relationship. So these are examples of planned spontaneity. Now, when we talk about items, so we're moving from T, so timing, we're moving to items. Item, what to give. Something to think about is the gift is an artifact of the relationship, right? Think about that. When people pick up a gift that you've sent them, they think about you, right? Or you think if you are picking up the gift, you think about the person who sent it to you, right? Every time we put that blanket on our daughter, I think of that individual. Every time, well, she's too small to sit in the chair. Every time I sit in the chair, I think about the person who sent it to us. Which is why, by the way, one of the big products we love to work with for our clients when we set up strategic gifting is Cutco knives, right? We are huge fans of the Cutco product because we know that when people get Cutco, like number one, every home has a kitchen, everybody eats food. And so it's a gift that is commonly picked up and used, and we brand it and engrave it for the agent. So it's a really cool thing that we do for our own clients when we do closing gifts or VIP gifts. But whatever you choose, I want you to just think about that. How long will they own this gift? Right? That's why we don't necessarily recommend like consumables or gift cards because they just get used and thrown away, right? If you sent someone a $100 gift card after a transaction or after a referral and then they spent it and gone, how often are they thinking of you around that gift? They're not because the gift is gone. But if you gave them a physical, tangible item that they pick up and use after the transaction that costs about the same amount, how often are they thinking about you? Every single day. So with gifting, again, strategically, it's not about the perfect gift for the person. It's more about something that is going to be useful and long lasting. So that's those are the things that we recommend: quality, lasting, and useful gifts. So examples of what we've given, I'm going to give you kind of some ranges of the spectrum. So these are some examples of Cutco knives that we've used. These are some other ones on the left that one of them I have not used, but this is a great example. So there was a loan officer coaching company that I do a lot of work with, and there was a member who shared this idea of this thing that he did. He was on vacation, and there was a guy. He was in the Bahamas and on the beach, and someone was coming around selling these little sailboats. And so he saw the sailboat, and he's like, "Oh man, these are so great! I want to buy one." And the gentleman said he would be willing to engrave his name, like burn it into the wood. And he's like, "Oh, that'd be great." Then he thought about it. He's like, "You know what? I've got like 5 big investor clients that I do a lot of deals with. Can you get me 5?" And he just gave them the names, and the individual had the names burned into the wood. These things cost about $15. Okay, like this wasn't a very expensive gift. He comes home, he sends everybody those little boats, the investors that he works with. Within I think he said 2 weeks' time of sending those gifts, he had a couple $1,000,000 under contract in business, which worked out to tens of thousands, in revenue for his business because of a $15 boat. Now, why did this $15 boat was it so impactful? Because it wasn't about the boat, it was what he said with it, which is partially the next point we're gonna get to, which is about messaging. But what he said was, so I wanted to send you this gift because I purchased it on vacation that I was recently on in the Bahamas, and the reason why I wanted to send it to you is because I was able to take this vacation with my family because of you. Because of the business that we've done together, the referrals that you've sent me, and I just wanted to let you know in my own gratitude how much I appreciate you. And I wanted to send you a little gift as well that hopefully is a reminder to you to enjoy the fruits of the labor of how hard you work. Beautiful, right? Really simple. And his clients loved it. And they sent him a ton of business because he was thinking about them when they weren't around. Again, that's the idea of reciprocity that we want to create mentally for our clients. Now, here on the bottom corner, this is a gift that I personally sent to a client. And so there's a friend of mine named Tom, and Tom's a very top producer in his industry. And we had this, we've done a lot of trainings together, and he's hired me for a few things. And so uh, I sat down with him for lunch one day, and I have these questions I love to ask every successful person I meet, which is number one, um, uh, uh, what do you love about what you do? Right? What do you love about your business? Then he tells me an answer, and then I say, what's the hardest thing about what you do? And then of course he tells me, what's the hardest part? And then so I ask him the third thing, which is, so why do you work so hard? Why are you doing this? You're already really successful. You already have a lot of money in the bank. Like, why are you still working so hard? And he shares with me this beautiful story of about his wife. And he says, the reason I'm working so hard is because um, really my wife has spent her life raising our children and supporting me living my dreams. And I've achieved most of those. And so I want to spend the rest of my life supporting her living her dreams. And then he went on to tell me that one of her dreams was to open a bookstore, and so they were in the middle of renovating a commercial building that he bought, and he was like, "It's probably going to be a money pit. We probably won't make any money, but that's okay because this is my wife's dream, and she deserves it." And I was so moved by that. And so I happened to be at an event and I saw this woman who made these wreaths out of book pages, very specifically Bible pages. I knew this gentleman was a Christian, and I thought, man, what a perfect gift for this man and his wife. And so I bought this wreath, and just before Christmas, about 2, 3 weeks beforehand, I had it delivered to his office with a note that simply said, Tom, I just want to let you know I'm so inspired by, our relationship and our last conversation when you were telling me how much you value your wife and how much you wanted to honor her goals for the rest of your life. And I know you told me she was a big fan of books. And so I found this person who makes wreaths out of book pages. And these are specifically made out of Bible pages because I know how important faith is to you and your family. So I just wanted to give you something to let you know how much I admire and appreciate and respect you. That was it. Guys, I mean, you would have think I gave this guy the world. I mean, because it was such a meaningful gift. I mean, it cost me $50, by the way. It wasn't very expensive. And then ultimately, we become very good friends. And we went out to the town where they built the bookstore, and we went out there. Guess what was the centerpiece when you walk in the bookstore? This wreath. And again, guys, this wasn't something like, oh, let me be so strategic. And every time he sees this, he's thinking of me. It was like, hey, no, I really value this person. I value this relationship. Let me take this deeper. Let me find them a gift that honors the relationship based on things that we've talked about. And I'm just keeping my antennas up. And that's a lot of what good gifting is. It's knowing what people care about and keeping your antennas up until you see the thing that is really a good fit for them. So there you go. These are some examples of gifts that we have used and also that we have seen clients use that are very, very effective. Okay, last couple of things before we get to our final point here. How much should you invest in gifting? We recommend 10% of your net profits into it. So, for example, if you make $1,000 on a transaction with a client, I recommend you spend up to $100 on a gift or gift marketing to them. In general, we see that that investment, yes, that seems like a lot, but it's something that once you get that loyalty and you cross that threshold of relationship building, you're going to earn that business long term. So that's what we recommend price wise. So messaging, you want to tell. So this is like, what do you say when you give the gift? You already heard some examples, so I don't want to really spend too much time on this. But notice that a lot of the value in the gifts that we just spoke about, it wasn't even mostly about what the gift was. It was what was said about the gift when it was given. So just tell the person why you're giving them the gift. What do you want them to feel or take away? Or what's the story behind it, right? Thinking about the boat, right? The story about why the person bought the boat. Thinking about why you're giving them the gift, right? Telling my client, hey, I just want to let you know, I was thinking about you when I saw this, and based on what you told me about your relationship with your wife, this is why I wanted to give you this gift. And then what do you want them to feel? Let me show you some examples of this. This is actually some great examples of very inexpensive ways to do gift marketing. So I love to send books and journals. So these are all things that we personally do and have sent out to clients. But books are great because they're, 10, 20, $30 to give out. And so the Miracle Morning, right? This is a great book. I've given out over 100 copies of this book because I'm friends with Hal Elrod, the author. This book was super impactful in my life. So every time I would give this out, so I was prospecting in my business and I would meet somebody, and I'll never forget, I was prospecting a company in our industry named Berkshire Hathaway. And there was a particular large organization in my area, and I had a hard time meeting the owner and the guy who runs the show. And I finally met him one day, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to give him something. So I just whipped out a copy of this book, and I said, hey Jim, I wanted to give you something. I'm not sure if you've heard of this book, but I know you run lots of sales meetings and you have lots of salespeople that get burnout and overwhelmed and they're disorganized. And I got to tell you, this book is so powerful, and it's about successful habits. And I know you do sales meetings a lot, so there's a lot of good material in here that you could potentially use for an office meeting. So I just wanted to give you a copy of this book. And that was it. And we moved on, and I didn't really hear from the guy. And then I bumped into him 6 months later, and he told me, he's like, "Oh my gosh, John, like, thank you so much for that book. It's totally impacted my life. I gave it to our owner. He loved it. We've bought hundreds of copies. Our entire company is doing a book study on this book right now." And I was like, "Oh my gosh." So my network equity shot up in that organization because of the simple gift that I gave them. So find something that's relevant, lead generate, right? If your business or your business partners, lead generation is important. This is a great type of book to send out, written by one of my friends, Scott Groves. Gratitude journals, right? So this is one thing that we sent out to all of our VIPs. And one of the things that we said was we sent this journal out, and and again, it was all about the messaging. And I shared about a personal story of how when I was in a really dark time as an entrepreneur, I had a mentor who told me about writing down what I was grateful for. And I thought it was silly, I thought it was unnecessary, but I committed to doing it. So for the next couple months, I would write down everything I was grateful for every day. And he even challenged me, the people that were, upsetting me or angering me, to find something I could be grateful for about that relationship. That was really, really powerful. And I literally noticed myself kind of eking out of this depressionary state and into this really powerful state of gratitude. And so I sent this to all my top VIPs with a note of that story, and then telling them, every time you pick up and write in this journal, I hope you remember how much we appreciate you and value our relationship. Right? A subtle little piece there, but it's a powerful thing that ultimately we've told them what to think and feel every time they pick up that journal. We had tons of pictures on Facebook, on social media. It was a really powerful gift. Obviously, we have a gift. My book I wrote was called The Mr. Thank You Project. So if you want to send a book about gratitude to people in appreciation, it's really the perfect gift. That's why we built it. Little plug there. You can buy them on our website, mrthankyou.com. All right. Anyways, we're going to move on. Last piece here. We haven't even gotten to number 3 yet. We're going to get there. I promise. Hang with me, guys. Hope this is good stuff. Hope you're getting some value. We wanted to really pour it on here. Last piece on gifting is execution. What's your plan? What do you say? Who does it? How can you leverage? These are all ideas, by the way, that you can do yourself. But depending on what stage you're at in your business, you might want to hand this off to somebody. Like I said, as a company, that is one of the things that Mr. Thank You does outside of our speaking and training, is we do gifting fulfillment to help people build relationships. So there's a button with this video that if you would like to schedule a discovery call to talk about gifting and have us help you build out a gifting plan and strategy, we're happy to do that. Right? So execution, these are all great ideas, but what are you going to do? What are you going to put into play? I know we gave you a bunch of options. Pick one to start with and then go from there. Start with the closing gifts, then VIP gifts, then the spontaneity gifts or situational gifts, and then your process gifts, right? That's what we recommend. Last point we're going to talk about here, and this is one of the best ones that we've got, which is events. Client appreciation events are so powerful. This is actually an event that I did for a client up in Minnesota. I live in Dallas, Texas. They're a mortgage loan officer, and they have a bunch of business partners that they do business with, a bunch of real estate agents. And so we did an event where I was on the screen virtually, and they were in the room in person. And it was a hugely successful event. And there are so many different ways you can do this. I'm just going to give you some examples of like what goes into a quality client appreciation event. So let's talk about this. Number one is the venue, and really what I would say is also the type of event you're going to do. So the venue, it will shock you, by the way, how inexpensive some venues can be. It doesn't need to be a really nice restaurant or a really nice hotel. You can do a pumpkin patch, right? I have a client who's a good friend of mine, and he's a real estate agent. Every year, same time of year, same pumpkin patch, he does a client appreciation party, and he blocks off an area. It probably costs him like $200 to $500 to like for everyone's entrance in. Everybody gets to pick one pumpkin. But man, I'm telling you, like the kids love it. There's hay rides. There's so many fun things to do. And he has another business partner, actually a couple of business partners who he sends referrals to all the time. And he asked them, he said, "Hey, can you chip in? I'm hosting a client appreciation event. You're welcome to invite your clients as well." And so then he winds up getting even more clients to come to this event because he's partnering with other people. They're opening their databases, he's opening his database, and they're collectively having this really quality event. I mean, he probably had like 100, 150 people come through that. And I can guarantee you he got some good plug and play business out of that, because every time you see those, like half of getting business from people is being present and top of mind when they need you, right? So simply by having some things in play, you're going to have conversations at the events where people are like, "Hey, you know what? By the way, my sister needs you. You should talk to my boss." Or it is so much more natural to give a referral when you're in relationship and conversation. So the beautiful thing about having a client appreciation event is it's scalable. It is totally scalable, meaning you can have a lot of people there and you don't need to sit there and have a one-on-one conversation with every single person the entire time. But you can go around and talk to each person for like, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. This is, by the way, this is a time to be networking, connecting, having conversations. You don't need to be really asking for business. Like I would really encourage you not to specifically, because ultimately that's going to come up. Now you might say, "Hey, like, what are you doing next week? You want to grab some coffee?" You might use that experience to book several coffee appointments or lunch appointments to fill your schedule, to, especially with your best clients, because ultimately that's who you want to keep building your business with, right? So the venue, you can do a pumpkin patch. Your office building that you have might have a location or an opportunity. There are trying to think of some other examples here with client appreciation events. Movie theaters. As a speaker, many people have hired me to speak, and we've done it at a movie theater, which is like sounds really expensive, but it's actually not. I think they were like $150 to $300 per event to rent the venue out, and they even had people show up to like run the concessions early in the morning so that they can get popcorn and sodas and things like that. They didn't charge anything for that because ultimately the clients paid for it. But that was a really cool experience, and I've seen many people do things like that. So look for things in your area that are local, that could be fun, that you can have a lot of people at, that you can give them some type of a small gift that would ultimately, kind of like create goodwill and a lot of fun. So now with that, by the way, giveaways. This is one of the key things, and I'm going to encourage you to do something like this. If you want to build and grow your referral business, you want to have a process where people know how and why and when to give you referrals. So one of the things that we talk about is having a post-closing conversation, which is after you give the client a gift, right? So this is when we talk about closing gifts a moment ago. When you give a client a gift, you have a post closing conversation, and you say anything to the effect. By the way, this works for any business. I've done this with real estate. I've done this with direct sales. I've done this with roofing, and it works the same. I'll even give you the roofing example. So what you can do is after you give someone a gift, post closing, you simply have this conversation. You say, "Hey, first of all, I just want to say thank you so much for doing business with us. I wanted to give you a gift, just kind of in gratitude, our appreciation for you. Here's a Cutco knife, here's a cutting board, here's whatever you give them. And then I wanted to give you this because our goal in working with you on this deal, on this transaction, is not to just do it one time, but to really be your roofing resource for life. So that if you, your friends, or family need our type of services, we want to be the go-to response, and we always want you to be able to have access to knowing how to get a hold of us, which is why we have this branded for you. But now that you're all moved into the house and the roof is completed, I want to go over a few things just in proper expectations moving forward. All right. So number one, everything's been fixed. You should have no leaks or no issues. If you have any issues, this is our phone number. Please reach out and let us know. Also, just want to let you know that we do more than just roofs, right? A lot of people don't know that we do gutters. We can do minor remodels, or if you have questions about internal things to do with your house, as far as painting or other stuff like that, let us know. We have a huge referral network of people that we can send you to. And if you ever have any questions in the future, or you have any friends that might need our services, feel free to text me or email me. And I'm actually curious, since you had your roof done, it winds up often becoming a conversation with people that they're thinking about getting their roof done. Has it happened for you at all? Has anyone else talked about potentially needing to get their roof done? No? Okay, no worries. If that were to come up, would you feel comfortable like making an introduction to us? Awesome. That's so great. All right, great. Well, do you have any questions for me? All right, you should be all good to go. Have a wonderful rest of your day. All right, pause. Now, we basically told them all the things of what to expect, how we might do business with them. The only things that I might have included in there, and depends on the what company you're in, is future communications that you might have, right? So I don't know if any roofing companies do client appreciation parties, but they might. But that's an example of something that my insurance guy, he has a crab boil every single year, and he invites clients, his business partners. He has literally hundreds of people who show up to this thing. He spends a couple grand on it, but it's something he's done every single year at the same time, and everybody knows it, so that everybody shows up. So now his transaction value per client isn't very much, but the ones who show up, it's pretty powerful. But here's what I would include if you want to add more referrals into your business. In that post closing conversation, I would say something to the effect of, "Hey, by the way, we also do a client appreciation event every year at our office in our parking lot. We just do this. We do this crab boil, or we give away pies during Thanksgiving, or whatever it is." And then also, when we're doing that, we do giveaways to all of our top referral partners. We actually give away $2,000 of giveaways that day. So every time a client refers us to one of their friends or family members, we give them a ticket into the drawing. And so the more referrals you give, the more chances you have to win something. We give away some pretty awesome prizes. Last year, we gave away a vacation, or we gave away a TV or a Yeti or whatever. So hey, if any of these things come up, or someone's thinking about roofing or buying or selling real estate, whatever your business is, please let us know, because you're going to go into drawing to win something at our client appreciation party. Right. So so I kind of folded a few things back and forth here, but I wanted you to see, how do you incorporate giveaways with referrals and a client appreciation event. So what I'm hoping you see here, by the way, is it's not just one thing. It is several things lined up that are all making sense, that is a continuation of the relationship, right? Because if the objective of our business is simply for a client to buy our product, we have commoditized ourselves. All right. People want to build a relationship with somebody that they see a future value in. Right. So if they know there are constantly things that are going to be available to them by working with you, they're going to keep sending you deals. They're going to keep doing business with you, because you've created a pathway and a plan of how to do that. Right. So, which kind of goes to my last point here, which is consistency. When you do a client appreciation event, you need to do it every single year, or every quarter, or every month, or whatever that is for you. Every month obviously feels like a lot, but it depends on your industry and your business. I have some clients who, for example, their appreciation event is simply a virtual training. Right. So in our training business, that is actually our number one booking, is we will do client appreciation events or trainings, where I'll give the Mr. Thank You keynote, or one of our other business relationship building trainings, because number one, there's no venue rental, right? They have to just pay for whatever my speaker fee is, or you can pay for whatever the speaker fee is for the person who comes on, or some people might even be free if it's a local person that you know. And then you can host a virtual event for your business partners, for your clients, once a month, once a quarter, or however often you want to do it. And the whole point is that you make them consistent, because then people know when the next one's going to be, and you constantly have something to invite them to. What's great about events is these are what we call conversation triggers. These are things that when you do them, they trigger a conversation that allows you to talk to your client, gives you an excuse to call them, so that you can invite them to something. Right? Half the reason why most business people and salespeople don't call back their clients, or don't have a conversation with them, is because they're afraid of coming off as salesy. They're afraid of just coming off and asking for a referral, and calling them and saying, "Hey, do you know anybody who needs to buy or sell whatever I have?" Um, that makes sense. But if you're calling to add value, or to invite them to something, you feel totally different, right? So by constantly having something like this, you have the ability to constantly be engaging your clients in a relationship that is going to create that lifelong loyalty, that consistent referral generation that all of us want to create. So, just to recap, we have talked about three different things. We talked about handwritten cards. We've talked about that first point of contact card, sending it to that individual to make that connection, to build that trust. We've talked about thinking of you cards, appreciating people just for doing business with you, just for the friendship, the mentorship, the relationship. We talked about cancellation cards, sending cards to people simply because they've decided not to do business with you, to extend that olive branch and oftentimes earn that trust and earn that business back later. We've also talked about gifting and the strategy of the time framework: timing, item, messaging, and execution. And then we finished by talking about client appreciation events and where you can do them, how you can host them, how do you incorporate giveaways, how do you talk about referrals, how do you build these things in with consistency so you can consistently be getting more and better business with your clients. So, if you have any questions about this topic that we've discussed, feel free to reach out to us. I did put a couple of links in the below this video to any of our particular services and how we can help you with that, right? So if you like to do client appreciation events or VIP events and you want to talk about bringing me in to speak or train for your company or for your clients, just go ahead and click the link on schedule a call for a booking request. Or if you're curious about gifting and you want to know how we might be able to help you in your business with that, grab the link there. If you are not connected with me on social media, I would love to get to know you. Find me everywhere is at the Mr. Thank You. I really hope this training has been valuable for you and you've gotten some nuggets from it. Feel free to send me an email and tell me what your favorite part was. My email is john@mrthankyou.com. This is our website. That's my social handles. This is where you can find everything. So if you need anything else, reach out to myself and my team. God bless. Have a wonderful day. And remember this, you are one relationship away from transforming your business. So go out there, proactively create those relationships, and watch your business thrive.